Hey everyone, welcome to the Outlet Podcast channel here on YouTube. My name's Gazy. How are you guys doing today? I am the host of the In the Beginning Was the Word segment here, book club on this channel. And you know that we're doing two books. We're doing the Diary of a Young Girl, Anne Frank, and we're also doing the narrative life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave. Why am I happy about this? Well, not only that I'm learning about this era of American history, but I went on Google today, and what do I see illustrated right above the search bar? I see the visage of one Frederick Douglass, and I just got so happy because this amazing, great abolitionist and former slave becoming an amazing proponent for like African like the for slavery to be abolished and for rights to be given to these individuals, to these people, like to see him properly venerated, like that made me happy. Now it's weird, like some people only learn about Martin Luther King and they learn about Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks. But did you know that Rosa Parks wasn't the first woman to be have gained that fame of not of refusing to give up her seat to a white man, to a white person? There was someone before her that did it, but in the African American community, because Rosa Parks was someone of more gravitas, they gave like more press to her. But there was someone who did that before her, and that's what I think we need to do as Americans who either are African of African descent or Hispanic descent or English, Irish. We need to learn about those who started it, those who are unsung, because their stories are unbelievably amazing. Yes, we can learn about Martin Luther King, but why don't you read about Malcolm X? I mean, yeah, he was aggressive, but to be a fair and balanced American citizen, we should have a comprehension of both levels. So what I've never learned about Frederick Douglass before this book club. So I really hope you stick along, because this is either episode 4 or 5 in the series of Frederick Douglass. So what I've learned so far in chapter 5 is that Master Anthony, the one who owns young Frederick Douglass, he determined to let him go to Baltimore to live with Mr. Hugh Auld, brother to my old master's son-in-law, Captain Thomas Auld. So when he heard this, young Frederick Douglass was unbelievably happy because he was going to go to Baltimore. Baltimore apparently was a thriving community, like unlike the plantations that young Frederick was at in the South. So some of the words, let me just share some words, is that here he says, I spent the pride of appearance, which this would indicate was not my own. I spent time in washing, not so much because I wished to, but because Miss Lucretia told me that I must get all the dead skin off my feet and knees before I can go to Baltimore. For the people in Baltimore were very clean and would laugh at me if I was all dirty. The thought of owning, okay, besides, she was going to give me a pair of trousers, which I should not put on unless I got all the dirt off me. The thought of owning a pair of trousers was very great indeed. It was almost sufficient motive not only to make me take off what would be called the pig drovers, the mange, but also the skin itself. So, Frederick was so happy, and I don't know, like I don't know if he was whipped at that point. I know he had seen injustices and have seen the brutalities of taskmasters and slave drivers. So he saw them. I don't know at this point he was whipped, but this is a light in the end of the tunnel. What appeared to him, but if I want to share a few things more. So let me go ahead. So he got to Baltimore, and he first encountered the master's wife. So let me just share it real quick of Mrs. Auld. or my new mistress. Let me share some stuff because it's pretty interesting. My new mistress proved to be all she appeared when I first met her at the door, a woman of the kindest heart and the finest feelings. She never had a slave under her control previously to myself, and prior to her marriage she had been dependent upon her own industry for a living. She was by trade a weaver, and constant application to her business she had been in a good degree preserved from the blighting and dehumanizing effects of slavery. So this woman became his owned him alongside her husband, obviously. Soon the effects of slave ownership changed her demeanor from being a very kind-hearted, this angelic creature welcoming young Frederick into the heaven that is Baltimore, but it soon changed. When it changed, Frederick at this point, at this juncture, doesn't say, but he does say one thing that she did that changed his life. Here he says, she very kindly commenced to teach me ABCs, the ABC. After I learned this, she assisted me in learning to spell words of 3 and 4 letters. Just at this point of my progress, Mr. Auld found out what was going on and at once forbade his wife, to instruct me further. And the vernacular by which Mr. Auld had spoken, I don't wish to repeat because he, drops a bunch of N-words and stuff. But what Frederick learns at this point is that I understood what had been to me a most perplexing difficulty, to wit, the white man's the white man's power to enslave the black man. It was a grand achievement, and I prized it highly. From that moment on, I understood the pathway from slavery to freedom. So Frederick he overheard what his master was saying to his wife. Mr. Auld to Mrs. Auld. He's that we need to keep the slaves dumb. They cannot learn to read and they cannot learn to write. So Frederick got a hold of this and he said, this is the path from slavery to freedom. If I learn, then I can overpower the white man. And this is just like blows my mind, because in life, I know that we all face different we have different lives, right? Knowledge is power, and it's so much power that it will cause you to go from the slavery that you're in to living a freed life. Now, I'm not talking about you being rich. I'm talking about you not being stuck in a dead-end job and being able to enjoy a career. That's what you can be freed. You can be freed from the grind, from under the whip, and you can be under the grind of something that you actually love to do. So Frederick learned this, changed his life. That he was like, they don't want me to learn. I have this key. He says it to himself. I prized it highly. From that moment, I understood the pathway from slavery to freedom. It was just what I wanted, and I got it at a time when I at least expected it. Let me share some more stuff with you. So this is the most revolutionary thing that Frederick had come into his life. So now he's in Baltimore, and this is something else that's interesting. I observed a marked difference in the treatment of slaves, from which I had witnessed in the country. A city slave is almost a free man compared with a slave of the plantation. He is much better fed and clothed and enjoys privileges altogether unknown to the slave of the plantation. This is the vestige of decency, a sense of shame that does much to curb and check the outbreaks of atrocious cruelty so commonly enacted under the plantation. So, in major cities, Baltimore, in cities like this, the slave owners would treat their slaves proper, giving them nice clothes, giving them good food to eat, these kinds of things, because everybody around there, when they saw your slave, they attributed your slave's appearance to you. They attribute it to you. Oh, like, that's your slave. Oh, you're poor. You can't buy. You don't know how to own slaves. Blah blah blah. So Frederick noticed that there's a major difference in between both types of slaves. So when I started to read about the difference in between the slaves, it was very shocking. All right, do you guys remember Paris Hilton? Yeah. Paris Hilton, she used to carry around a little dog. She started this whole trend of carrying around a dog in a purse with little jackets and stuff. And it was a symbol of status with white girls, that you're so fashionable that your ambiance of fashion bleeds over to other things like your pets. So when I thought about that, now it makes sense. The reason why white owners of that time would dress their slaves that way, the way they would have them be able to run errands for them in the city. It's a status thing. And I was like, wow, not much has changed in America. If if issues of status becomes like that, you're like, oh, well, for example, if I wear Jordans, if my 2-year-old wears Jordans, that means that reflects on me. That means I'm, he's cool, but I made him cool, so I'm even much more cool than that. Oh, let me make sure that my kid goes into this school, not because you care about the kid's intelligence, not because you care about your kid's ability to learn and to grow. No, you actually want your kid to be involved in that school because that school has the right connections for your business. So you get to meet the parents of other business and you guys can network. And it's like, that's what, not much has changed over this time span. I mean, America is probably just 300 or so years old. We celebrated our bicentennial not so long ago, so not much has changed. So when I read this about Frederick, seeing how slaves were treated, they're still slaves. It's just they're attributed how their slavery is. They were still whipped. Don't they were still they weren't treated like human beings. Remember, they were still treated as slaves. So I'm learning little by little about this, but now young Frederick found the key, his ABCs, that knowledge brings freedom. From slavery to freedom, he found the great achievement. So I'm really happy, and I can't wait to see what is next. You guys, if you want to follow along, go to your local libraries or buy this book. eBay, I think I bought this book for probably $3. So I'm learning and having fun. Join the In the Beginning Was the Word book club. And remember, just 2 rules. Read every day. And number 2, we're reading for comprehension, not for bragging. I want to learn this, and I want to share this sincerely, not to be like posting on Facebook, yeah, I'm reading a book. No. Like, if you're taking a picture of a book with a cappuccino right next to it, that means you're not reading it. Pick it up and read. So yeah, this is the In the Beginning Was the Word book club. My name is Gazy. Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Outlet Podcast, on Twitter @Outlet Podcast, on Periscope, and here on YouTube. Like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you think as well. Guys, it's been my pleasure. I'm pretty happy. I hope you can tell. I'm recovering over a little sickness. Yeah, that's it. Guys, connect and recharge.